Good evening, one and all. Once again, welcome to this once again extravagant program on the psychiatric aspects of life, different aspects of life, brought to you by the Pune Psychiatry Society. Myself, Anirban Mitra from the marketing side of the center, welcoming all the doctors and the respected delegates in this beautiful event. And this is a continuation of the scientific programs extended by the Pune Psychiatric Society and the Indian Psychiatric Society Association based at Pune. So let me welcome everybody of you. Once again, the tough time has been started. So wishing everybody a peak of their health because all of the doctors, you are the guardian, you are the preserver of the society and well-being. So your health is of the most important concern. So today's topic is very fascinating, and Kalmek sir will definitely get the introduction. Whenever I have got the name of the topics, that is bipolarity, I was thinking that the society's polarity systems right now. Now it is the society has been divided into two polarity. One is COVID situation versus the polling sides, that is the voting time. Wherever, any state there is the vote is announced, there the rate of COVID has been drastically decreased. So tremendous polarity of the society, biased society. Sometimes we thought that our psychiatric patients are much more pure than this type of unipolar mentality persons. Nevertheless, on the joking side, straight away I will just introduce our dynamic coordinator and moderator, Dr. Bhalachandra Kalmek sir. Sir is MBBS, MD, DPM, and Medical Director and Chief Psychiatrist in the Nirmal Psychiatric Nursing Rehabilitation and De-Addiction Center of Pune. Sir is the ex-honorary treasurer and secretary of IPS Pune branch, and Sir has a huge experience of working in Masina Hospital Mumbai and KM Hospital Mumbai and many of the places. So I am handing over the session to our dynamic coordinator of the program, Dr. Bhal Chandra sir. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Anirban. Today's topic is Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, but actually it is both Dada Khushi and both Dada Gum. That is mania and the depression. And today's speakers are Dr. Sharmista Deshpande and Dr. Swati Joshi. Shruti, please project the slides. Yes. Dr. Sharmista Deshpande is my teacher from Navle Medical College. She is MBBS MD, psychiatry from BJ Medical College, Pune. At present, working as professor and HOD, Department of Psychiatry, Kashibai Navle Medical College and General Hospital, Pune. She has vast experience of teaching as well as a private practice, more than 20 years. Earlier, she was working with Mimer and BJMC Pune. She has special interest in licensed psychiatry, especially in psychodermatology. And she is the founder executive member of Psychodermatology Association India. She has many publications in her credit, especially on the depression and psychodermatology. Apart from this, she is interested in music and dance. And I have learned psychiatry from her in our Kashibai Navle Medical College. Our second speaker is Dr. Swati Joshi. Please project the slide. Shruti.
Shruti is logged off. Shruti has been logged in. Once again. Just a minute, sir. Technical error.
Dr. Swati Joshi is a psychiatrist from Pune. She is senior psychiatrist. Pass out from the Medical College of Ahmedabad. At present, she is working as a private psychiatrist and attached to the Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital, Pune. I think this is the perfect pair for this topic because both of them are true friends and they are presenting most of the topic together. So I hand over this session to Sharmista Madam and Swati Madam.
Thank you, Dr. Balchandra. Thank you for your introduction. We shall be presenting this topic. We have divided it, but mostly some part we will be presenting together. So it is about basically mood disorders. So as now it was mentioned that nowadays mood is unstable for everybody because the COVID situation is unstable. So many things in life, they are unstable. So our emotions and mood, they keep on changing. And one may often doubt whether I'm having a mood disorder as such. Okay, so it is about basically mood disorder. We need to know in details exactly what is a mood disorder, what is the need to identify it, and what should we do once we know that it is a mood disorder. We'll see broadly some things about management also. So I'll share my presentation. Is the presentation visible? Okay, so this is, I think, the perfect situation. What is the need to identify it and what should we do?
Can you please share the slides?
Yes, I'll share my presentation and we'll start. Um, is the presentation visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, madam.
Yes, Roni, make it full screen.
Yeah, yeah. It is full screen now.
It's full screen now. Yes,
Okay.
madam, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we begin with the what are mood disorders. So kabhi khushi kabhi gum, that is life and that is inevitable, all of us know. So we as human beings, we are very much social, emotional and intellectual beings. Emotions, they provide us motivation for our life. They provide meaning to every action of our life. So they are indeed very important. Emotion we define as it is a feeling state which is characterized by physiological arousal, expressive behaviors, and cognitive interpretation of the situation which is going on around us. So these together they form the emotion. Emotions are of various types, as all of us know. Some of them are pleasant, some of them are unpleasant. Like all of us like to remain calm, like to remain happy. So that is why we say that they are pleasant emotion. When we feel glad, when we are excited, it is a pleasant feeling. As against that, if we are distressed, frustrated, angry, sad, these are unpleasant emotions which no one likes to have. And in these emotions, there are varied intensities. When we have mild intensity, again it may be more present, whereas when you have intense intensity, especially of unpleasant emotions, so here what you can see in this left this quadrant, these are the ones which are actually very distressing for us, and if they persist for a long time, they are going to affect our body, mind, and interpersonal relationships and so many things. So that's what we are going to discuss. So then what is a mood? There is slight difference between emotions and mood. In normal English, we may be using these synonymously, that what is emotion and what is mood. But whereas mood as defined in psychiatry, it means that it is a pervasive and sustained emotion, which is experienced and reported by a person and observed by others over a period of time. So if I may feel happy right now, but after 1 hour, I may be feeling sad. But if I'm continuously feeling sad for the most of the time of the day and most of the days of the week, I will say that I'm having low mood. So feeling sad, depressed, bored, irritated, gloomy, frustrated. So, you see there are so many shades of even sadness, which patients may describe in their own words. So we have to be aware of all this vocabulary that the patient may be using. Or even feeling happy or elated. Usually it is response to a situation, and if it is appropriate, it is absolutely normal. But when it lasts for a long time, it causes distress to a person and also affects person's social functioning, occupational functioning, and intensity is disproportionate. It affects our biological functions like sleep, appetite, overall health. Then we call that it is a mood disorder and it needs treatment. So as you see, only transient feeling of sadness, frustration, irritability, that is not what we mean by a mood disorder, but it is a sustained state which remains for a persistent period of time, usually about 2 weeks or more. So mood disorder is a psychiatric disorder. It is characterized by pathological mood that affects physical and mental functioning in various ways. Now, why I'm saying it is pathological? Because, as I said, it is disproportionate. It is affecting our body and mind, and it is irrationally remaining like that for a long period of time. And these mood disorders, they are very common, potentially lethal, but highly treatable disorders. So that is why everyone should know about these disorders, and everyone should also immediately support a patient to take treatment. And we should be treating this patient as soon as possible, because otherwise they can end up in a lot of complications, as we'll be seeing subsequently. Among the mood disorders, major depressive disorder is the commonest. Now, there are various types which are given in the international classification, like we have major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, in which you have two types, bipolar 1 having mainly depression and mania, bipolar 2 depression and hypomania. There are also a lot of other subtypes. We'll not go in the details due to time constraint, but there are, you have to remember that there are so many types of mood disorder. It is not only depression or bipolarity. We have cyclothymia, we have dysthymia, which are intensity wise lesser kind of mood disorders, but they are very chronic, persists for 2 years or more. When low mood, which is less in intensity but persists for more than 2 years, we call it dysthymic disorders. Similarly, we have minor depressive disorder, in which we don't have all the symptoms of depression, only a few of them. And we also have recurrent brief depressive disorder, in which there are all the symptoms of depression, but they are lasting for less than 2 weeks. So this classification, which is given in the ICD or international classification, it includes manic episode, then also includes hypomania, mania with and without psychotic symptoms. We have F31, that is bipolar disorder. We have F32 depressive episode, F33 recurrent depressive disorder. Then we also have these persistent mood disorders, as I said, cyclothymia, dysthymia, and also there is a category of other mood disorders that also we'll see in short. Now, I want to stress on the epidemiology to tell you how common these disorders are. They are twice as common in women than men, being 5 to 12% in men, 10 to 25% in women. In lifetime, they will experience at least one episode. When it comes to bipolar disorders, incidence said to be between 1 to 1.5%. They are commoner in single, divorced, widowed people, probably due to poor emotional support. They are seen in all the socioeconomic strata, and age onset again is different for these two disorders, but they can occur in any age. Now, these are the detailed epidemiological figures. So mainly this tells you that if you consider the full unipolar spectrum, almost 1 in 4 we have experienced at some point in life this mood episode. So as I'm saying, these mood disorders, they are episodic. They are not continuous like in schizophrenia. The episode will last for a period of time, which can range from a few months to up to 1 year. Now, what is the morbidity and mortality that is caused by these mood disorders? So you can see so many people suffer from mood disorder, and 1 person commits suicide every 40 seconds globally. So that is the mortality which is caused because of these mood disorders. Also, 10% of the college students, they are diagnosed with depression. So especially if you see the young population, they are very much vulnerable to depression, which is a serious cause of concern for all of us. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years of people globally. So this is why, again, that tells us about the importance of mood disorder. Now, what are the causes? Usually when someone is feeling sad, the first question that comes to our mind, why? What is wrong with this person? He's having everything. he has everything in life. Why should he feel sad? So we should not relate it to the always to the social circumstances or to the psychology. The cause of mood disorder is highly complex. It is a combined result of certain biological, social, and psychological factors. As I have mentioned, there are so many factors, and the cause it could be combination of all these three, varied combination, and even for every episode, the cause can be different. So the cause of mood disorder is highly complex. We cannot say, like, sometimes relatives may say that because of so and so person, he gets depression. So it is not that simple. The cause is highly complex. Among the biological factor, first thing is genetic. It is more commonly seen in the relatives who are having mood disorder. These will be commoner in those families. There are certain neurotransmitter disturbances, which we shall see subsequently. There are various endocrine disturbances, like you may be knowing hypothyroidism can lead to depression. Various physiological changes as occurring during pregnancy and menopause can predispose a person to mood disorder. Various drugs which can induce mood changes, like we have various our own antipsychotic drugs or INH, methyldopa, reserpine, and so on. Various chronic medical conditions, especially neurological conditions, they are again known to be important cause of mood disorders. Among the social factors, lack of social support is something very important. Stressful life events, yes, they often trigger or precipitate episode of mood disorder, but stand alone, we cannot say that they are the causes as such. But yes, with increased stress, the severity and frequency of episodes of mood disturbances is likely to increase. Then again, after death or loss of a person, a thing, or an object which was very dear to a person, it can lead to mood disorder. Similarly, any kind of abuse, sexual, physical, emotional, it makes a person prone for depression. Then relationship issues, very common. Interpersonal stress often triggers mood symptoms. Various financial problems, like nowadays after this COVID pandemic, we are seeing so many cases of depression, which have resulted after the trigger of the financial problem that the people are facing. And then migration or a socio-cultural change. It may be difficult to adjust for a person with such major change, and he can land up in mood disorder. Among the psychological factors, we have emotional deprivation. If a child loses parent before 5 years of age, he is said to be more vulnerable to develop mood disorder when he becomes adult. In separation from parent or unpredictable kind of parenting or cognitive distortion, which a person has, that's the learned habit or learned helplessness. So here comes the role of mainly our thoughts. Okay, so if we have been thinking more negatively, or there are certain personalities which are more vulnerable to develop mood disorders, like we have emotionally unstable personality disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, which are more prone to develop a mood disorder. Then object loss is again loss of some emotionally significant person or object. Then low stress tolerance, which is psychological, which is inherent in the personality, and low self-esteem. These are the factors which are mentioned as psychological factors. I'll see a little bit about the neurotransmitter theory of these mood disorders. The serotonin and norepinephrine or the catecholamines, they are the main neurotransmitters in the brain. They are linked to various important functions which together are responsible for our mood. Okay, so they are controlling our even concentration, interest in our life, motivation, also the sexual function, appetite, our behavior, aggression. So all these things, they are controlled by these neurotransmitters. So they mediate these depressive symptoms, but they are also the mediators of anxiety. So we will see that actually anxiety and depression, they go together, and many of our depressed patients, they are also having anxiety symptoms. Similarly, serotonin deficiency is linked to pain symptoms. So often our depressed patient, they complain of vague aches and pains, like they may have backache, headache, pain in various part of the body that is usually medically not explained. Okay, so there is because of this theory, we have to understand there's overlap between anxiety, between somatization and feeling low or depression. So dysregulation of serotonin and norepinephrine in the brain, they are strongly associated with depression. that in the spinal cord, they mainly affect the pain perception by an individual. And imbalance between these two neurotransmitters, it may explain the presence of both emotional and physical symptoms in depression. Now we'll see a little bit about hormones, because when we see depression commonly in women, it is often linked to the menopausal symptoms. We have premenstrual dysphoria. We also have postpartum depression. So there are so many things which are linked to hormones. So this HPA activity, it is increased in depression. So also thyroid axis. So these two are important axes. Okay, so undetected thyroid dysfunction, it is seen in 5 to 10% patients of depression. It is very important to undergo testing for thyroid function in all the patients with mood disorders. So also 20 to 30% of depressed patients have blunted TSH response to TRH. So they are at increased risk of relapse despite preventive antidepressant therapy. So there are such various hormones which are involved. As I said, even this progesterone, estrogen have a big role to play. Then among the circadian rhythm, there is prematurely loss of deep sleep and increase in nocturnal arousal. So there is increase, so we can have various sleep disturbances in mood disorder. Either you can have difficulty in initiating sleep, maintaining sleep, early morning awakening, which is one of the melancholic features, or you can have total lack of sleep in depression. And in mania, you will have less sleep, but there will be reduced need for sleep. So likewise, you have a variety of sleep problems as far as mood disorders are concerned, and all of them are mainly due to disturbances in the circadian rhythm. We also have excessive sleep in depression when we have atypical features of depression. Okay, so we should not have in mind that depression means the person has lost sleep or is not able to sleep properly. Sometimes you can also have excessive sleep. So there is some abnormality in the sleep, or you can also have poor quality of sleep, sleep with excessive dreams. So this thing we see because of these disturbances. So maintenance of circadian rhythm is one thing which is very important for these patients. Now, if we look at the brain, there are various key regions of the brain that are implicated in mood disorders. We have this, as it is highlighted in this is the inferior, if you look at the brain from down, this is the inferior part. This is the orbital prefrontal cortex, ventromedial prefrontal cortex, this pink and green one, which is said to be involved. You have this outer surface of the brain, where dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is there. You have this hippocampus and amygdala, these are linked to our memory and especially to aggression. So all these things are involved as far as mood disorders are concerned. And this is the anterior cingulate cortex. This is the section of the brain, inside part, which is showing this. So all these parts of the brain, they are involved when we have mood disorder. So if we do imaging, nowadays you must be knowing that CT scan, MRI, apart from these, we also have these PET scans. So these PET studies have found that has reduced this anterior cerebral metabolism and increased glucose metabolism in limbic region. So this is the depressed brain, this is the normal brain. So my point here is to emphasize on actual changes in the brain that can occur because of mood disorder. So we have to be very serious about these actual biological changes that happen in mood disorders, especially if they are untreated for a long period of time. Then we have these immunological disturbances also in mood disorder. A person who is depressed frequently falls ill. He will have frequent cough and cold, and maybe perhaps other viral infections as well. So there is decreased lymphocyte proliferation, reduced impairment of cell-mediated immunity. So frequently the person may get infective conditions and poor or delayed recovery. Sometimes we see that some patients, they respond very fast to treatment. Whereas when you have a patient who is not responding to treatment, so we are going to see one case vignette like that. We have to suspect that there could be underlying depression, because also the second factor causing immunological disturbance is poor nutrition in mood disorder, because the patient is not eating properly. Secondary to that, he can also have immunological disturbance. So this is what is important. So here we'll see one case. Here I want to make you understand the difference between the psychological reaction to some negative event versus having major depression. Because frequently it so happens that we feel that something negative has happened. A person is, like in this case, she has been recently detected to have cancer, this lady. So we feel that it is very normal for a person to feel sad, and then we miss out on depression, and we may fail to give them antidepressant. So I'll just read out this case vignette in short. The doctor requests psychiatric consult because even though all the tests indicate that the patient is getting better, she hardly ever gets out of bed. Okay, so she's a 56-year-old lady who is on chemotherapy, and even when she is given good news that all her tests are good, she starts crying. The nurses report to you that she is not eating and has lost 3 kg weight. She has been treated twice in the past for depression, once in her 20s when she was still in the college, and once at the age of 30 for postpartum depression after birth of her second daughter. So like that, it's very important to take past history in depression. So often you will get earlier that there was some history of depression. Then this lady, they hadn't socialized with any of their friends for quite a while. So her feeling is she's running down, and she has increased stress at work and worries about her health. So often these depressed people, they may just stop socializing or mixing up with friends. And we have to be alert if there is any change from the pre-morbid state of a person. You can understand that people have different personalities, so everyone is not going to behave in the same way. But if there is a significant change from the pre-morbid personality, we have to be watchful about depression. So the patient is frequently tearful. She says that she has no hope that she will ever get out of the hospital. She feels like she's letting her whole family down. So this is the cognitive distortion she has, that she feels the guilt. She feels that because of her, the whole family is suffering. And she also admits that she has had thoughts of jumping out of the windows as a suicidal plan proper. Okay, so as you can see, this is major depression with suicidal plan, very serious condition which needs immediate treatment. So we'll go to another case unit. So here, if you have a, say, 22-year-old college student, a change in behavior has been noted by parents since 1 month. So initially sleep was reduced, but yet he used to be very fresh and active. But gradually that student is becoming more irritable. He had fight with friends, started arguing with teachers also. And sometimes he also said that he knew more than his professor. He could not attend the class, neglected food intake, was unable to concentrate in studies. All these are the cognitive disturbances which occur in depression, that they are not able to concentrate in studies, they are not attentive, they will neglect their self-care, food intake, and so on. Also, parents notice that there is irrelevant talking and getting aggressive on trivial issues, and then they brought him to psychiatrist. There were no neurological symptoms or any medical illness. So here we probably had this, in young age, the symptoms of depression, they are varied. So we'll see later on also that in children, in teenagers, you can have a different types of symptoms in this patient. So I think after hearing all these, all of you will agree that depression is not something just where you can say cheer up and the person will improve in his mood, or we should not say that it's your own fault, or you don't look depressed, or you just come out of it. You can come out of it. Okay, emotional support is important, but we have to understand that depression is a medical condition which needs medical treatment. So coming to symptoms of depression, I have divided it into 3 slides. First one is the emotional symptom, that is persistently feeling sad or empty mood lasting for 2 or more weeks, excessive crying, feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, guilt. Okay, so hopelessness, they're about the future. They feel that nothing positive is going to come out. Actually, no situation remains the same for years together. Everything does change in life over a period of time, may it be happiness or sadness. But these people, they are having this hopelessness and they feel they can't do anything about it. They are helpless. Helplessness is they are not able to do anything to change the situation. They feel the guilt and worthless, that they are of no use to themselves or to the family and or to the society. And they are just feeling irritable, agitated, and anxious, and thoughts of death and suicide. The sleep disturbances, as I said, you can have a variety of them. Also changes in appetite and weight. So weight, sometimes it may reduce, sometimes you can also weight gain. Then there is decreased or loss of libido, reduced energy or fatigue. There are headaches, stomachache, digestive problems, unexplained aches and pains. As I said, these pain symptoms are also linked to depression. Then we'll come to behavioral and cognitive symptoms. There is loss of interest or pleasure in the activities that were once enjoyed, such as going out with friends, hobbies, sports. So as I said, the change in the pre-morbid, what I used to enjoy previously is not able to enjoy now, is neglecting the responsibilities, personal appearance, and excessive negative thoughts about self, about life, about future. It's called as Beck's triad of depression, and feeling guilty as well as blaming others. So person is blaming others may also mean that he has bad mood, feeling hopeless, helpless, worthless, and difficulty in concentrating, remembering, and making decisions. Then when expert examines, that is the mental status examination, it will show psychomotor agitation or retardation. So depressed patient need not be always very slow in action. He may be in fact restless. The agitation may be there. He may make poor eye contact or sit with a downcast gaze. Facial appearance does look depressed or irritable or frustrated, sad. Sometimes you have apathy, lack of any emotion, and affect is communicable. It is, we can make out the sadness in this person and empathize with that. So they have this low mood or apathy, low self-esteem. They will not appreciate their own efforts, or they may feel that they are inferior to others. Pessimism, hopelessness, and guilt, they are seen. Then somatic preoccupation, often they have a lot of somatic complaints. They are preoccupied with their bodily symptoms. Then there are cognitive distortions. Suicidal ideas are seen as frequently as 60% of the patients. It's a very, very important point that I'm coming to. That is, we need to assess for suicide risk in each and every patient who is complaining of sadness. So either it could be just passive death wish, that it's better if I'm dead, or it's better if something happens to me, or one can have thoughts of suicide or active plans to commit suicide, or the patient may come after he or she has made an actual attempt. So what are the clinical important things about this suicidal ideation? We should always ask for these ideas. Asking for it does not plant the ideas, is what we have to always remember. So we have to ask without hesitation. So it is very important to have this straightforward approach. Then conduct even our interview at a safe place, predict about the future attempts from the past attempts. So one who has history of past attempt is always likely that he may do it again. So we have to be careful. As far as relatives are concerned, we should not offer any false reassurance. We have to have the correct assessment of the severity of the case. We have to ask about access to means, may it be weapons or poison or any such thing. And always admit a patient who has such ideas and he needs 24-hour supervision by a close relative so that you can observe him all the time. Now we'll come to some atypical findings in depression, that is persistent mood reactivity. Not all depressed patient will be sad all the time. Their mood may brighten in response to positive events. This is called as preserved mood reactivity or presence of atypical features. Along with this, we often see significant weight gain, increased appetite, hypersomnia, and leaden paralysis. The person feels his limbs are heavy, he is unable to lift them. And such people also often have long-standing pattern of interpersonal rejection sensitivity. So this is a very common presentation with increased risk of bipolarity, comorbidities, as well as suicide risk. So actually we had done a study, Dr. Balchandra will remember that atypical features in depression, they are very common and they also have equal suicide risk as those of melancholic features. What are these melancholic features? When there's a distinct quality of low mood, where there's lack of pleasure in almost all the activities, lack of reactivity to the stimuli, and also there is diurnal variation in the mood is worse in the morning, there's early morning awakening, marked psychomotor agitation, significant anorexia, weight loss, and inappropriate guilt. These are called as the melancholic features of depression. And when depression becomes severe, we also have psychotic features, which may be mood congruent with delusions and hallucinations, delusion of reference, persecution, or usually they have nihilistic delusion that world will come to an end. It's called as Cotard syndrome. They are absolutely nihilistic about due to extreme negative views about the world. Then they often have hallucinations, which are usually second-person hallucination. They may hear voices criticizing them. So presence of hallucinations or delusion, again, it can be seen in severe depression. Then when you have depression in women, there are certain things which you have to remember. Women may be more vulnerable due to social factors, because they are more introverted or due to hormonal factors. So we have to be more careful, say during the premenstrual phase, perimenopausal phase. And interpersonal sensitivities may be higher. So there are certain different psychosocial issues we need to take care as far as women are concerned. Depression in children, it may often present as irritability or crying more, difficulty in concentration in school or studies, remaining withdrawn from others, loss of interest in play activities, high risk behavior, and disturbed sleep and appetite. So again, in children, you can have different features. Now coming to again, one of the most important thing is when we have depression, is it unipolar or bipolar? If it is first episode, first time patient is feeling sad and has all the features of depression, major depression, but it is very acute, there is sudden psychomotor retardation and within days the patient worsens. The patient is young, and if the patient has hypersomnia, he has atypical features, we have to be very careful that it could be the episode of bipolar depression. Why it is important is when we give antidepressant, it may make a patient switch into mania. That is one thing. And another thing, for bipolar depression, definitely they will need drug treatment. It is very difficult to treat them with just psychotherapy or counseling. So we have to be able to identify this bipolar depression. In unipolar depression, as I said, it can occur at any age, but most common between 30 to 50 years, more common in females with insidious onset. And the episode is longer of unipolar depression than bipolar one. And number of episodes will be less. And psychomotor agitation is more common in unipolar depression. Associated comorbidity is often anxiety. And you have insomnia more commonly than hypersomnia. So we need to differentiate or at least have some prediction as to whether we are dealing with unipolar depression or bipolar depression, so that we can plan the management. Because because depression is so common, even often general physicians, they have to start on antidepressant. Every patient, they may not be able to refer to psychiatrists. But two things they need to be aware of. One is presence of psychotic features and second is bipolarity. So these two things, if they are there, definitely the patient will need immediate referral to psychiatrist for further management. Now we'll see some further cases and then move on to bipolar disorder. So now at this point, I invite Dr. Swati Joshi to continue with the remaining part of presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Deshpande. My co-speaker, Dr. Deshpande, has talked on depression. In continuation with that, I will be talking on another pole of a mood disorder, that is mania. We have already seen the classification of mood disorder. Very quick revision for the bipolar disorder. There are bipolar 1 disorder, in which there are episodes of mania and depression. Bipolar 2 disorder, there are episodes of mania, hypomania and depression. And in cyclothymia, there is episode of mania and depression of having lesser severity. Now we'll see a few cases. Here, there was a 45-year-old working man. He had having illness since last 25 years, having episodic illness, many times presented with the episode of over-talkativeness, increased spending, decreased need for sleep, feels he is on the top of the world, feels cheerful but occasionally irritable, fight with others if his views are opposed by others, agitated, restless, increased alcohol consumption or gambling during such episodes. Such symptoms would last for 2 to 3 months, and many times he needed admission as he was not manageable at the home. Followed by episode of depression, which impairs his work performance. But since last 5 years, as he is on regular medication and mood stabilizer, his frequency of episode has reduced, and now he is manageable on OPD basis and only require once IPD admission. There is no deterioration in personality, which is very common in psychotic illness like schizophrenia. In his case, support from the family members, particularly wife and his employee, was very good, which helped him a lot for his stability. Next slide. Here is a 35-year-old lady. She was having complaints since last 10 years, having episodic depressive features, that is low mood or irritability, poor interest in a daily work, needs to drag herself for daily tasks, low energy and fatigue lasting for few days, and episode may last for few days, and episode will recur after 2 or 3 months. But over a period, her frequency of depressive symptoms were lasting for longer period of time with sudden improvement for a short duration. She denied any features of mania or hypomania, but on detailed inquiry, she reported feeling more cheerful, enthusiastic, energetic for few days when she could finish her task very quickly and can do extra work. During follow-up visit, it was observed that sometimes she showed a quick response to antidepressant and sometimes there was no response. After adding mood stabilizer in her episodes has reduced in frequency and she is now maintaining well. So the first case was a typical bipolar 1 and this case was a bipolar 2 disorder. Next slide. So what are the features of mania? Is feeling of happiness, but it's pathological. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, now you are audible.
Yes, audible.
Just a minute. There is something wrong with here. I cannot see the screen. I am logging from some other device. Okay, sorry. So the core symptom is a feeling of happiness, but it is pathological. Here the person feels very happy or cheerful with air of confidence, and he expresses his or her feeling without any restraint, with overestimation of self ability, exaggerated feeling of well-being with grandiose idea. This various range of emotions is known as elated, expansive or euphoric mood. Sometimes patient experience irritable mood instead of euphoric mood, which is very common in children or adolescent having manic symptoms. Uh, ex Expansive or irritable euphoric mood is our interpretation. But what is the narrative about patients or relative? रिलेटिव विल से डॉक्टर साहब आजकल ये कुछ ज्यादा ही खुश रहता है, पहले ऐसा नहीं था, हंसता रहता है, कुछ भी बोलता रहता है, बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें करता है. This patient talk a lot in a loud and dominating tone, and it's difficult to cut down their conversation. This is known as pressured speech. Uh, During their talk, patients shift from one topic to another, to third one, fourth one, and so on, with some logical connection in between the talk. This is known as flight of ideas or racing thoughts. They even start talking to strangers as if they are knowing them since long period of time and not bother whether the opposite person is interested in their conversation. Patient speech is filled with jokes and rhymes. Suddenly they start singing or dancing. They would talk about overestimation of self ability, power, wealth, etc. Like he is a god or millionaire or having a great power, can defeat anyone in fight. can do anything. He had achieved some great success or invented something new, which is not in a reality. This is known as grandiosity. As you can see in the picture, this cat is feeling herself as a lion. The same way, such patients overestimate their ability. This is known as grandiose idea or grandiose delusion. Next slide. In these patients, their attention get diverted very fast by surrounding stimuli. This is known as distractibility. Uh, Disturbance of the sleep is common in mood disorder. As in depression, sleep disturbance is there. But if patient won't be able to sleep for a whole night or at least 6 to 8 hours, then next day he will feel tired. But in manic cases, manic patients, in spite of sleeping for 2 or 3 hours or not sleeping at all, such patients, even not sleeping at all, still patient will feel energetic and fresh. And this is known as decreased need for sleep. These patients are very hyperactive, restless, and occasionally become violent. Impulsive behavior is very common in such patients. Next slide. Other behavioral abnormality are like increase in spirituality, religiosity, or spending in form of buying or increased charity without thinking of available resources or future need and its consequences. Uh, then unnecessary business deals may be done during this state and which have a very negative consequences in the future. Hypersexuality is seen in some patients where, which may they may start flirting with anyone, so may land up in some legal issues. Sexual demands increase with some patient, which may be the cause of conflict in the relationship. So this excessive involvement in other activity, which may be having a potential danger for their future. These are some narrative by patients of manic depressive. Next. Like someday I can conquer the world, and other day it's very difficult for me to even go for a bath. Next. So it's a very essential to know the course and prognosis of the illness for effective short-term and long-term management. As bipolar disorder is an episodic illness, 50% have a second episode in first year of life. 7% have no recurrence, and around 40% has chronic illness, or 45% has more than one episode. So this chunk require long-term maintenance treatment for control of their symptoms. If you see the prognosis, 15% do well, but 45% have multiple relapses, and 10% are chronically ill, and 30% are in partial remission. All these patients will require regular long-term medication. Comorbidity of psychiatric or medical conditions are common in mood disorder. Anxiety, substance abuse, obsessive thinking, etc. are very common with depression. If you don't treat these comorbid conditions, it may patient may not get full recovery. Depression is common in various chronic medical conditions like HIV infection, chronic arthritis, or Parkinson's disease, which may also need special attention. Uh, when there is a loss, person definitely feel depressed, but this grief reaction resolve over time. If this grief is not resolved properly, then depressive symptom lasts for longer time, and it also need attention uh, and counseling session. Neurological conditions like Parkinsonism or severe stroke also, depressive symptoms are very common. There are many medical conditions in which the mood symptoms is the presentation, like adrenal insufficiency or thyroid dysfunction, HIV infection, Parkinson
Hello.
Yeah, voice is not there. You are not audible, madam. Swati madam, you are not audible. Swati ma'am.
I think there is some technical error from madam side. Madam, you are not audible.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes,
ऐकू
yes.
नाही येत.
Shruti, will you give a call to madam?
Yes,
I
sir.
was calling.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there is
Ma'am.
some net issue. Now I'm joining from my phone. Okay,
Yes,
so
madam.
yeah.
Yes.
Previous slide, please. So in iron deficiency, thiamine deficiency, niacin or cobalamin deficiency, depressive symptoms are very common, which improves on correction of deficiencies. Substances like alcohol or cannabis intoxication may present with manic-like symptoms. So it is essential to rule out various medical conditions of mood disorder and requires treatment for such medical conditions. Uh, Next slide. Mood disturbances are episodic in nature and lasting for few weeks to few months and may remit naturally. So why to treat mood disorder? As we have seen that uh, due to mood symptoms, person may develop issues in various aspects of life, like due to neglect, worsening of pre-existing medical conditions like diabetes mellitus or hypertension, increased use of addictive substances like alcohol or cannabis may have their own issues. Deterioration of functioning may be due the cause for failure or losing a job or financial loss. Lack of interest and social isolation due to depression may cause relationship issue with family members and social circle. Suicide or homicidal behavior have a negative impact in life. Hypersexuality or reckless behavior in mania may cause legal problems. So to avoid all this complication, it is advisable to treat mood disorder. Next. Treatment Treatment can be therapeutic or prophylactic along with psychosocial measure. Therapeutic treatment during the active course of illness to control the symptoms, and prophylactic treatment to prevent future relapses. Psychosocial measures like various type of psychotherapy, psychoeducation to patient and family members, and improving social support will facilitate recovery and reduce the stress. Next. Treatment can be done on OPD or IPD setup. For severely suicidal patient, depressed patient with poor oral intake, aggressive patient or violent patient, patient unmanageable at home or having poor drug compliance, and those who need diagnostic workup, it is advisable to admit such patients for better management. Uh, Treatment for depression. Antidepressants are used to treat the depression. Next slide. Among antidepressant, SSRI is commonly used and used as a first line treatment. It increases the serotonin level in the brain. SSRI are well tolerated and safe in overdose. Other antidepressants are, next slide. Other antidepressants are venlafaxine, duloxetine, which are a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. Serotonin dopamine reuptake inhibitor are trazodone or buspirone. Tricyclic antidepressant, which are old generation antidepressant, are imipramine, amitriptyline, clomipramine, etc. So various options are available. Drug of choice depends on the patient's profile, previous response to drug and side effect, and previous response to drug and the side effect. For example, if a patient is obese, then it's advisable to avoid mirtazapine. If patient is old age or having glaucoma, it's advisable to avoid tricyclic antidepressant. It is essential to remember that antidepressant take at least 3 to 4 weeks to start its therapeutic effect. So initial improvement would be slow. Uh, for good results, it's patient should continue treatment for adequate period of time and in adequate dose. Usually, depression cycle may last for 3 to 12 months. So it is advisable to continue up to that period. Once reasonable recovery is achieved, maintenance treatment should be continued for a few months, and then gradual tapering should be done before stopping the treatment to prevent sudden withdrawal syndrome or relapse. If patient is having bipolar depression, mood stabilizer cover should be given. Simultaneously, treatment should be given for comorbid conditions like anxiety, thyroid disorder, nutritional deficiency for better result and good recovery. Uh, Manic patients can be treated on OPD or IPD basis. If patient is agitated, restless, rowdy, then it's advisable to admit him as patient can be managed on indoor basis. In this, patient may require physical restraint, use of injectable antipsychotic like haloperidol or benzodiazepine like lorazepam is given to control the agitation. Consider ECT for fast recovery and to control the agitation. Antipsychotic like haloperidol, olanzapine, or quetiapine are commonly used to control manic symptoms. If patient is having first episode, we don't know when this next episode will come. In such cases, in such patients usually we don't keep on prophylactic medication. Various drugs are used as a mood stabilizer. Next slide. One is lithium, which is the oldest one and most effective in bipolar 1 patient uh, with family history of mood disorder positive. Before starting lithium, get done the complete blood count, renal function test, electrolyte, thyroid function test, pregnancy test, and ECG. Get done the serum lithium on 8 to 10 day of starting of dose and every 3 to 6 monthly. And serum lithium should be maintained between 6 to 1.2 milliequivalent per liter. Common side effects are polyuria, polydipsia, weight gain, or tremor. Watch for the signs of toxicity like coarse tremors, ataxia, and dysarthria. Maintain hydration well because dehydration is the common cause for toxicity. Lithium is contraindicated in pregnancy and lactation, and it should be avoided or used with caution in renal dysfunction or diabetic patients. Another mood stabilizer is sodium valproate. It is used as a mood stabilizer in bipolar 1 patient or when patient uh, is not responding to lithium or when lithium use is contraindicated. It is also used in rapid cycler bipolar patients. Rapid cycler means patients having 4 or more than 4 episodes of mania or depression in 1 year. These are known as rapid cycler. In these cases, usually lithium don't work, but anti-epileptic, which are used as a mood stabilizer, give good results. When patient is on lithium, before starting, just get done the CBC, LFT, and body mass index. Loading dose of valproate can be given. Gastritis, hair loss, or weight gain are the common side effect. When patient is on valproate, monitor for complete blood count, liver function test, and weight. Contraindicated during pregnancy, and when you want to stop it, reduce slowly before stopping. Carbamazepine or oxcarbazepine are also used as a mood stabilizer in bipolar 1 patient or when patient lithium is contraindicated in some patients or in rapid cycler. This drug should be start with low dose and gradually increase uh, the dose to avoid neurological side effects like dizziness, ataxia, or diplopia. Watch for neutropenia and skin rash, contraindicated during pregnancy, and when you want to stop it, taper slowly before stopping. Lamotrigine is also one of the drug which is used as a mood stabilizer. Particularly in a bipolar depression patient, it gives good results. When you start very slowly and increase gradually over a period of time to avoid the side effect like skin rash. Monitor WBC count for neutropenia, and it can be given during pregnancy. Mood stabilizers has a therapeutic and prophylactic use. Prophylactic treatment reduces the frequency and intensity of the future episodes and lengthen the normal mood period in between the episode. Next slide. As you are seeing this graph, patient having mania depression episodes, gradually they are means inter episode period are reducing. Second graph is mania depression with normal interval, then manic episode, then normal interval. Uh, in this also gradually the cycle interval decreases. But when the patient is on prophylactic treatment like mood stabilizer, gradually the inter episode normal period increases and intensity of the symptoms also decreases. Next. ECT is used as an emergency measure to control agitation and restlessness in mania. It is used as a life-saving measure in severely suicidal patient when you cannot wait till antidepressant starts its effect, which takes around 3 to 4 weeks. It is also used in depressive stupor, refractory depression, depression with psychotic feature. It is also having good results in postpartum depression where the fast recovery is essential for safety of mother and baby. Next, psychotherapy like, next slide. Psychotherapy like CBT or RET, rational emotive therapy or cognitive behavior therapy is used to reduce or improve negative cognition or belief and negative emotion in depressed patient. Interpersonal therapy, which focus on addressing the problems of current relationship with other people and to improve the interpersonal skill. Family therapy used to improve the communication and resolve the conflict between family member, which may be the cause or effect of mood disorder. Next. Education of patient about the illness is very essential. When you educate the patient about the nature and course of illness and treatment option and its side effect, the compliance with the treatment increases and there is a less chances of sudden stopping of the treatment. Educate patient about early warning signs, so patient can identify the relapse and early treatment can be started, and so it can be controlled easily. There are various myths and stigmas related to mental illness and treatment. Discuss with patient and relative about it, so it can improve the patient's acceptance of illness and compliance to the treatment. Stress can worsen the mood disorder, so discuss about the various stress management techniques with patient. Next slide. Be empathetic to patient of mental illness. Encourage equality between physical and mental illness. Talk openly about the mental health and help and motivate people to take treatment for the mental illness. Next slide. Next slide, please. So, in summary, mood disorder are not due to weakness in character, but illness. It's an illness due to biopsychosocial cause. Mood disorders are treatable. Stress can worsen mood disorder. Antidepressants are the first line of treatment for mood moderate to severe depression. Any psychotropic will take minimum 3 to 4 weeks to start its therapeutic effect. Regular follow-up is essential for dose adjustment. Abrupt discontinuation may cause withdrawal symptoms. Psychotic drugs are not addictive if taken under supervision. Next. ECT is the life-saving measure for severely suicidal patient. More than 80% of people with clinical depression can be successfully treated. Duration of treatment is 6 to 12 months or the length of the previous episode, whichever is more. A combination of psychotherapy and pharmacotherapy improve treatment response, reduces the risk of relapse, enhance quality of life, and increase adherence to the pharmacotherapy. Prophylactic treatment reduces the number and severity of recurrences in patients of recurrent or chronic mood disorder. Support from family members, friends, and caregivers facilitate recovery. Next. So, take home message is mood disorder is a common, potentially lethal, but highly treatable mental illness. Mood disorder is chronic medical conditions like diabetes mellitus or hypertension. And as patient accept, people accept long-term treatment for these illnesses like diabetes or hypertension, the same way mood disorder also needs long-term treatment. Regular medication will keep the illness under control. Regular maintenance medication reduce the severity of illness and frequency of mood cycles. ECT is life-saving treatment for severely suicidal patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Dharmishta Madam and Swati Madam, for your lucid presentation. It was a very insightful presentation. Now we will move forward with the section of question and answer. There is one question from Josna Silvan. She is asking that what is the difference between mood disorder and bipolar mood disorder?
Mood disorder is the broad term which we use for any disturbance in mood. And as now Joshi Madam has said, bipolar mood disorder is the one where we have depressive as well as either manic or hypomanic episode. So we have swinging of mood to either side in bipolar mood disorder. I think that answers the question.
There is one question from Binita Barla. She is asking, what are the signs and symptoms to detect early signs of depression? What are the early signs of depression?
Okay. As I said, actually for bipolar depression, you can have sudden severe depression, but usually for unipolar depression, yes, you have early signs like disturbance in the mood, first that feeling sad or irritable, sleep disturbance, having negative thoughts. So initially it will be of less severity, which will go on worsening if it is untreated. So early signs could be one of the first signs could be maybe sleep disturbances and mood disturbances, and later on followed by other symptoms.
Thank you, madam. Uh, Mrs. Anuradha is asking, how should we identify the patient with suicidal ideation and how to deal with such patients?
Uh, Firstly, to identify, you have to ask the question. As I said, we need to ask the patient whether he or she feels that he or she should end his life or harm himself or herself in some way. So every time, actually, it may not be directly by harming himself or herself. Sometimes they stop their ongoing treatment. For example, I have seen a patient with diabetes. When he became suicidal, he stopped his insulin. He started eating all sweets, and also he was not following his dietary regulations. So why? When asked why, he said, "No, I feel that I should not live anymore." So we have to basically observe the behavior and also ask the question directly that do you have these thoughts of harming yourself? So that is how you assess for that. And if it is there, definitely it needs assessment by an expert. Expert means a psychiatrist, obviously, and then to decide the further course. So depending on the severity of ideation and the underlying suicidal ideation is in so many conditions. It can be seen after interpersonal conflict, adjustment disorder, mood disorder, even in schizophrenia. So there are so many causes. That is why it is there definitely a psychiatrist obviously and the underlying suicidal ideation mood resource of management uh, should be taken. But most important is the first aid for suicide or the immediate thing that any person can do is accompanying the patient 24 hours, not to leave him alone, not to keep any harmful things with the patient, and supporting him or her. I think this is the basic first aid that everyone should be well versed with.
Okay. Thank you, madam. This is question for Swati, madam. Dr. Patil is asking how to deal with a patient of depression by family physician. How family physician should deal with the patient of depression.
Uh, First, you should take the detailed history and look when rule out the any medical comorbidities. Rule out whether it means find out that patient is having major depression or bipolar depression. Uh, if it is a just major depression, no history of any bipolarity, then you can start with antidepressant. Here, SSRI, that is specific serotonin reuptake inhibitor, are the class which can be used commonly and it's safe to use. But if it is a bipolar depression, then that patient may need mood stabilizer depending upon the severity of the cycle, means depending upon the past history of episodes. Uh, you need to continue the treatment for at least 1 year, or if the episodes are occurring every 2 yearly or 3 yearly, then the whatever the length is high. So if it is a
That is
bipolar
why
depression, then
should
it's
be
advisable to consult a psychiatrist, because they are the better one who can treat bipolar depression, because many times patient it's very difficult for dose adjustments.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Uh, uh, Continuation of the same question is mania is more difficult to treat than depression?
Uh, in mania, agitation or restlessness is the symptom which is because of hyperactivity or homicidal behavior or aggressive behavior. It looks like it's difficult to treat. But in our experience, bipolar depression also is equally difficult to treat.
Okay. Uh, Dr. Dharani is asking whether manic persons are harmful to self or others, whether they become violent. Yes, madam, whether the patient's mania become violent, are they harmful to self or others?
Yes, I think they are harmful. They can be harmful to self as well as to others. So we have to take care because of their grandiosity and elation. They become irrational and they can pose harm to self as well as others. Both the risks are very well known for many.
Okay. There is another question. Are there any scales to detect depression or mania?
Yes. For depression, there is a Beck Depression Inventory or Hamilton Depression Rating Scale are available, and for young mania rating scale is available.
This is a question for Deshpande madam. He is asking, can you suggest any good textbook in English or Marathi to know more about the psychiatric illnesses?
Yes, there is a Marathi book, Manovikarancha Magova. I think you can read that. There are many books actually which have been written by Dr. Anand Nadkarni, Dr. Kishore Phadke. They are available, very much available, and in local languages, Marathi, as well as other local languages. And in English, what I can suggest is the undergraduate psychiatry book either by Neeraj Ahuja or by Dr. Nambudiri is written there. So there are so many good undergraduate books which give you information about all the psychiatric disorders in short. So I think one by I think recently there are again they have come up with a lot of new underrated books. They are also concise and giving the information. But most commonly used are by Dr. Neeraj Ahuja and Nambudiri. As I said, both the books are quite concise.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Next question is, what first aid should be given for patients with depression and mania at a general practitioner level or family physicians level?
I think first education, informing them that this is a mood disorder, it will need treatment is something which is very important. As first aid, yes, initially you can prescribe a low dose of benzodiazepine, not alprazolam, but maybe clonazepam or lorazepam in low dose. It may help a patient if one is not sure whether it is mixed episode or of the bipolarity. But it should not be given for a long time. Within a week, the patient should be referred to psychiatrist for further assessment. But to begin with, I think one can start with the also a group of antidepressants. They are quite safe, like sertraline or fluoxetine, and we started in lowest doses, like sertraline around 25 milligram or 50 milligram, fluoxetine 10 or 20 milligram. That can be started at general practitioner level. But one assessment by psychiatrist is very much required as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Next question is for Swati, madam. Does hysterectomy causes increased risk of depression?
Hello, can you repeat?
Swati, madam, you are not audible.
Hello, Bhalchandra, can you repeat the question?
Does hysterectomy causes increased risk of depression?
Hysterectomy.
Hysterectomy and depression. What is the relationship between hysterectomy and depression?
Uh, Hysterectomy done at what age it is important, uh, and if along during hysterectomy the ovaries are also removed, then there are high chances of depression because there are sudden uh, loss of hormones, means sudden decrease in the level of uh, estrogen and progesterone, which may be the cause of our depression during hysterectomy.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. And what are the guidelines for family members of a patient suffering from mood disorder?
Okay,
Guidelines for
so
family members.
guideline for family member that they should keep a watch on the compliance that patient is taking regular medication or not. Then in the stage of depression, they should be alert whether patient is becoming suicidal or not. In case of mania, the means they should keep watch on regular medication plus his activity. Sometimes uh, still the full control is not achieved, then patient may behave weirdly. So here also the family members should accompany patient during the initial stage of the illness. And once the illness is under control, the maintenance medication is also very essential to prevent the relapse.
Yeah. I was not audible. Sorry. This question is for Swati ma'am. Madam, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes,
audible.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Anu from the Bangalore is asking, what is the relationship between high creativity and high incidence of mood disorder?
High creativity and high incidence of mood disorder.
Whether the person with high creativity shows higher incidence of mood disorder.
Not necessarily.
Okay. And what is the relationship between mood disorder and personality disorder?
Uh, as such, there is no relationship between mood disorder and personality disorder. They are both are different entities.
Okay. Thank you, madam. And last question is, what is the role of hereditary in depression or mood disorder?
Genetic definitely play a
What
role.
is the role of hereditary?
Yeah, genetics definitely play a role. If you see the incidence of mood disorder, the incidence is for bipolar disorder is 1 to 2%. But if any single parent is affected, then it is 10%. And if it's both parent affected, then it's 20 to 30%. Same way, if mood disorder, in depression also hereditary plays a role.
Thank you, madam, for your lucid answers. Now we will go next to the vote of I thank Dr. Sharmista Deshpande and Dr. Fateh Joshi for their lucid and insightful presentation. I also executive committee members of the PPA and IPS Pune branch for arranging this webinar. Yeah. I thank all the audiences who were present during the presentations. I thank whole team of center, Mr. Anirban Mitra, Anurag sir, Shruti madam, and Mahesh Apar for their technical support. Now I hand over the session to Mr. Anurag Srivastava.
Right, sir. Sir, thank you so much. I think thank you once again IPS Pune branch and the PPA
Anurag,
for organizing such a wonderful program. Is actually this Hati Hath Badhana program is, as I have understood, and the entire program has been designed for young students and other specialty along with the psychiatry to understand the subject little better. And as Dr. Walchand said that he got his teacher today, so definitely the audience sitting here must have learned. So I thank Dr. Sarmishta Deshpande madam and Dr. Swati Joshi madam for giving this discussion on by mood disorder, which is basically Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. And as Dr. Walchandra said that it is Kabhi Jada Khushi Kabhi Jada Gum. So that is how it is. And I also want to thank all the medical fraternity who are present here today. I know see today being a last Friday of the month, and then there is a long holiday is going to come. So though it is not the right time to celebrate holiday and Holi both, because the incidence of corona is again just picked up across the state, and we all have to again stay home, stay safe scenario. So I request everyone to take actual good care of yourself and your near and dear ones. And at the from the center side, I assure you that my team will continue to be there in all your scientific and extravaganza, and we would thank you for giving us this opportunity. Please keep supporting us, and we will definitely be there for wherever you want us to be. Thank you so much, Dr. Walchandra. Thank you so much, IPS Pune branch and PPA. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Balchandra sir. Thank you, Sharmishta madam. Thank you, Shati madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
ma'am.